Buenas. My name is Diego, and this is the You Live Where show. I've been an expat for 10 years now, and on that journey, I've spoken to a lot of people who would like to do something similar to what I'm doing or just interested in this lifestyle. So, the only way that I know how to provide you, the viewer at home, with any value is by having genuine conversations with these people about their experiences. So, I talk to expats, people who own homes overseas, and people who have been on the road for a very long time. This week, we're talking to a gentleman named Kevin in Nicaragua. He's a real estate professional, and this dude drops some gems for us. I mean, this is an amazing episode. I'm excited to share with you guys. Enjoy.
And Kevin, hey man, such a pleasure to have you on my show, man. This is great. Thank you so much for your time. I'm very excited to speak with you.
Diego, you as well. I'm glad you reached out. It caught my eye by surprise whenever a guy reaches out on TikTok and says, hey, what are you up to? So, however I can be here and be of service, faith to the audience, my time is all yours.
That's awesome, man. Thank you. All right, so let's get into it. Let's start at the beginning. When did you get the travel bug, man? When did you start getting out there and getting around?
It wasn't a travel bug that got me. It was the love bug.
Ah.
And my story is one of somewhat of an accident because I met a woman in the lower mainland of Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And on this night, I wasn't even supposed to even be in the city, but I was. And I met this woman. I was literally in love the first time I saw her. It was just one of those things. I can't explain it to you. Only people who might have been through it will understand it. And if you haven't, it's a great feeling. But I saw this girl and I had to, go up there. She kind of had this exotic looking thing and I was into that. And turned out she looked kind of Spanish. So I threw on my best, hola, ¿cómo estás? And I stepped in front of her. And it wasn't too long after that, I wasn't some guy hitting on this woman in a restaurant, but she really just told me straight out, like within, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes, like, I'm moving to Nicaragua. And I'm like, oh, is that when I finished school? I'm like, is that right? I'm like, Nicaragua. I never really knew anything about Nicaragua. I didn't even know where it was. So I'm like, well, tell me more about Nicaragua. Crazy people aren't scared of anything. And no, it's true story. You ask her, she'll tell you the same thing. And she, it was about, I don't know, an hour after that. I was only there by accident, killing time, and I actually found her. But I was stranded there by my then roommate at the time, who went on to Vancouver to go partying with his girlfriend. And I stayed the rest of the couple hours talking to this new girl that I was just fascinated by and learning everything about Nicaragua. And it was like not too long after that, we had our first date. 4 months later, I asked her to marry me. And 10 months later, I was married in Nicaragua. And a few months later, moved. So
Wow.
it wasn't so much a travel bug. Yeah, it was really, really within 18 months, I met a girl, proposed, got married at a destination wedding, no friends, no family, no language, never been to Mexico, never been to Latin America. I just literally gave it all up with no backup, no nothing. I was poor as can be after a destination wedding. In fact, I had to borrow money for that wedding. And after 13 years working my way up in the corporate ladder in a typical company in Vancouver, Canada, I was happy. Sales rep, great company, fantastic location in downtown Vancouver, working territory. It was really great, and gave it all up. Completely walked away, broke into another country with no language, no job, just an idea of, what, we're going to make it in real estate, and we'll figure it out.
Dude, I mean, listen, if there's any reason to move, if love isn't the one, right? Like that's the one.
That's the one. People say I'm crazy. People think I made a mistake. People think like I could never do that. And I'm telling people, listen, when you understand my story and you notice the trials and tribulations that we had to go through and do it, I say that loosely, not anybody can do it, but it's possible if you're willing to work for it.
Got you.
It's
right.
not just going to be like
so
you're at home and everything's just going to fall into lap.
Yeah, that's never works like that. So you're at home, right? And you've met this woman, and now you're about to tell your friends and family, like, guys, I'm moving to Nicaragua. How did they take that? How did that go?
The funniest story starts with my dad, surprisingly enough. And when I told him, not first I was moving to Nicaragua, but getting married in Nicaragua, they were all like, well, why don't you just get married here? And I'm like, no, you don't understand. It's a cultural thing. This is the woman. She's gonna get married back home because she's Nicaraguan. My dad's like, well, why don't you have this the wedding in Mexico like halfway or something for both? I'm like, you don't get it, man. It doesn't work like that. Come on, Dad. Like just come a little bit further, 3 more hours. Just get on the plane, 3 more hours. You make it to Nicaragua. But you know what? Most of my family was pretty good. Brother was great. Sister was great. They all came down for the wedding. And for the most part, people are pretty supportive. But as you know, people have their own lives and they're busy. So after the initial shock wears off, they just move on to their own things, their own kids, their own successes, their own problems, their own desires, their own wants. And now it just becomes back then there was no social media when I started. There was no Facebook and there was no Twitter and there was no YouTube, right? I got started, 2005 in Nicaragua, like that was like really like hardcore.
Yeah, that is hardcore. That's a long time ago, man. Even in Nicaragua, things have vastly changed between then and now.
Yeah, 2 decades. Two
Yeah,
decades of
definitely.
change for sure.
Yeah, that's a long time. So when you decided to move, as you said, you had a career, you had a house, you had everything going on for yourself, right? What did that move look like? Did you pack everything up? Did you send it in a storage bin or did you put things away? What did you do? How was that move?
That's a good question. How was that move? All right, so okay, you got to picture this. It's November 2004. Just got married, spent a month honeymoon in Nicaragua, and my wife and I come back early December to spend Christmas in Canada.
Okay.
Before we got married, my wife just got a job and got trained, but she took some time off to get married. But when we were in Nicaragua, our honeymoon was basically looking for real estate. No, honestly, we spent a week at the beach. We already pre-planned where we were going to go and check things out, and we caught the bug. We caught the bug, the real estate bug. We knew exactly what we were going to. So we got back in December, and I started talking with my wife, and I said, "Look, honey, we can't look for land in Vancouver, Canada, in Nicaragua. It's just not going to work like that." So I propose after Christmas, you go back to Nicaragua and start looking for land. I'll keep working and support the bills and let's get ourselves set up. We're going to move, but like you were talking about, how's that transition going to go?
Right, right.
So the story is my wife took off first week of January to Nicaragua, never came back. Okay. No, I mean, literally never came back.
Oh, God bless
I,
you.
I, I remained in Canada working at my job. So I just took a month off. So I used up all my holidays. So, and it was about 2 months later, my wife called me. She says, I found the property. You should come check it out. I'm like, okay, I got a fresh batch of holidays for the year. I'll just use up a week and I'll come down there for a week. So late February, I go down to see my first property and it looks great. I'm like, well, continue on with the negotiations. I got to go back. All right. So it was like 2, 3 weeks later, my wife calls me and she says, this is where the story gets interesting. I got a surprise for you. You're going to be a father. I'm like, what? That was fast.
That was awesome.
I'm like, that's incredible. I still remember the day where I was standing in downtown Vancouver. So I'm like, okay, so about 3 months later, I make a decision. This is probably going to be how I make the transition. We have a house. We've just bought a house like before we got married. So I basically went about the time did well, but about 3 months before my wife was due, actually 4 months before she was due. I think this might have set a precedent in my company, the first ever in 100 years. But I think I was the first male to take maternity leave.
Awesome.
So I basically left work on maternity leave to go support my wife in Nicaragua during the pregnancy. And of course, after she gave birth and my son was there, I gave notice at my job that I wasn't coming back. And so we decided to keep our house and we just let Maria's family live in it. And Maria and I just continued on with a newborn and a real estate portfolio building. Our first property was under contract.
And that was
And
your
just,
house.
oh, yeah, so basically I left everything behind
Okay.
and came with a suitcase full of, whatever you'd go with a suitcase on a plane.
Oh.
And our life was built in Nicaragua after that, brick by brick, step by step, bill by bill. And that's how I did it. So For us, it wasn't too difficult because we didn't have kids. We had to relocate into school. We didn't have to worry about moving into a foreign land where you didn't know the neighborhoods or which neighborhoods were good or bad or indifferent. I had an easy, soft landing, you might say, with a,
Okay.
Nicaragua native who grew up in Nicaragua and just
Sure,
happened to go to school
sure,
in Canada. So for me, it
sure.
was not difficult except no friends, no family, no money, no job, no pension, no support effort line credit. It was just me and my credit card with and okay, let's do this thing.
Starting, huh?
Yeah,
Just ready to go. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. It's the kind of guy I am.
That's awesome, though. That's cool.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that you had, I mean, this is 20 years ago, but I'm sure that you had a vision in your head of what life was going to be like in Nicaragua, right? Because you had visited and your wife and everything. What was one of the biggest differences for you between what you thought life was going to be like living there and then getting here and living here? Like, what was that?
Okay, I think first I can go back to a moment in time, a couple of days before our wedding, where it was
Okay.
early November, and being Canadian, growing up in Montreal, Edmonton, Alberta, Vancouver, British Columbia, it's been like minus 30 to minus 35 to, maybe -2 in the worst time. I just don't like cold weather. And 33 years of cold weather, right? Just frozen, like so cold that the extension cords snap when you try and unplug it,
Oh
like
God, I
kind of
know.
cold. So I remember this November evening. It was about 10 o'clock at night. In Nicaragua, as you know, you go to the restaurants and you order your drink. It's not a typical rum and coke. They bring you the bottle and the coke on the plate, and you mix your own drinks.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I was like,
Una media.
I'm like, this is different. And this is quite amazing. And you could take the bottle home with you. That's incredible. The open bottle. I'm like, oh my gosh. That and right. So you know what I'm talking
No,
about because you've
absolutely. Yeah. The way you order is a media, una litro or whatever, and they give you,
that's
depending on your sodas. And yeah.
so that was a huge difference. But the biggest difference, I think, was just simply the weather because I wasn't acclimatized to it. And I was like, oh man, I'm sweating 10 o'clock at night in November. I've never experienced that before. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this is where I was meant to be. And since then, I can't imagine living in any temperature that's under 30 degrees Celsius or 85 Fahrenheit
I hear
any
you.
rest of my life. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
there's been times over the last 20 years I've had to go back to Canada, COVID, different things like that. And it's like, oh man, it's cold.
It's cold.
It's
Uh,
cold and the snow is wet. I don't like it.
the way that I explain it to people is the cold is cool if we're going to snowboard and we have a jacuzzi and it's all great and it's warm weather. You know when it sucks? 6:30 in the morning when you got to go to work and you're chipping the ice off of your window. You know what I mean? Like that's the worst. Yeah, I'm with you, man. Forget the cold.
Yeah, that was the biggest difference. I mean, some people will say, and I know, um, language is sometimes a barrier. And
Okay.
my experience of 20 years to give your viewers or someone who's watching this to take something away, if there's one thing to remember this interview is what the people care about is not how well you speak. What they care about is that you at least try. And for the most part, and what have I experienced, nobody really cares what accent you have or how bad you speak it. It's just that you try. You're not just some Canadian or gringo American, and just you expect the culture where you're going to be exactly where you are, and they bend to your will. It's not like that. You have to bend to the will of the culture. And the reality is, when you're not prepared to absorb the culture and where you're going, you're setting yourself up for difficulties in which you don't have to have. You have a more open mind when you go into the cultures. So my my advice to people is always know the culture and where you want to be and start looking within that region, whether it's Southeast Asia, whether it's European or UK or your South America is very different than Central America, and the 7 countries in Central America are very different than 19 countries in South America. My mind is a little bit not that much, but it's very different places, very different safety, very different places, very different people and how they welcome the people that are coming. And where you are, as you know, you're in Playa San Diego. I'm in Granada right now. I work in Pochimil. People are like, oh, but not Nicaragua or Costa Rica or Panama, but that place is dangerous. Yeah, but what place? Are you talking about the city, the country? Like where? Because I'm sure wherever you are in your own hometown, there's places where you're not going to walk down at night with a case of beer and you got to worry about a needle getting stabbed in your arm or something like that, right? So there's danger everywhere.
Sure, absolutely. I agree with you. And that's great. Great advice. How are you doing with the language? How long did it take you to catch the language? Are you speaking fluently?
Sí, cuando yo comenzaba a hablar en español con mi esposa, yo no hablaba nada. Ah, la tiempo cuando mi niño viene, la primera lengua de mis niños es solamente en español. Y
Okay.
cuando yo regreso a la casa para la oficina, mis niños hablan en español solamente. Y cuando los niños hablan en español, yo dice a mi esposa, what did he say? So
It's what my
I could,
viewers are going to be saying right now at home. Like, what
right?
did he
So yeah.
say?
So to translate that, I didn't speak any Spanish when I came to Nicaragua for the first couple of years. And for at least 2 years, I would come home from work after working in English all day. And my kids grew up with a nanny and grandmother and mom and everybody around speaking Spanish. So their first language was Spanish. So they come home and go, papi, 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 blah, 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 and
Mm.
that's what it sounded like to me. And I was like, I listened, like, yeah, yeah, I was smiling at my kids. I'm like, then I turned to my, what did he say? I didn't even understand my kids for 2 years. My wife was the translator. So, but so
Uh,
little by little by little. But with any language, as you know, you have to use it and practice to get to know it. Maybe you'll never know it fully, but if you know it enough to not be worried about getting lost anywhere in the country or having to order food or find a bathroom, you're going to do okay. You'll be
okay.
able to communicate with people.
All right, cool, cool. I know it's been a while and you've been here for quite some time, obviously. So let's go back a few years. How was it for you to get a social life? Was that, I know you have your wife and your wife's family, and of course that really does help. But you personally, were you able to make friends and create relationships earlier in your time here? How?
My That's a good question. I would say I'm not the typical person who um, to answer that question, I'm probably the wrong person.
Okay.
I'll by that because being in business in a foreign country, most of my time was with work, not making friends. The friends I had were the close associates that I would work with, and or the clients that I'd be representing in the project that I'm working. And I traveled 6 months of the year. So
Whew.
very often than not, yeah, it was a lot of work to promote Nicaragua around the world. I remember I have 4 kids,
Yeah.
and with the second batch of kids, I watched them and I say, "Hey, honey, look, Sebastian is doing this and this and this," and I go, "I don't remember Kevin doing that." And my wife would go, my wife would go, "Yes, he did. You just weren't here."
Oof.
Like you were
Working.
like
Yeah.
so. I was working. I probably put in 4,000 hours a year in the first 5 6 years. I might still almost closely do that, but um, it was just a lot of work. And um, culture wise, from a business standpoint of view, this is maybe difficult to say, but you got to be careful who you let close to you and who you can trust. And the culture in which I work within Latin America, Nicaragua, could be anywhere, is most people tend to keep their lives quite private. So making friends can be difficult with locals because people tend to stay within a very circle of friends or family. So my social life was probably more Maria's family than it was, hey, I made all these friends in these communities. No, it wasn't like it
Okay.
wasn't like that. It was just straight business for me. But I would say for people moving into the countries in which they're deciding it's going to be best for them, there's expat communities everywhere.
Okay.
There's art galleries, there's gatherings, there's get-togethers, there's community activities, libraries. I mean, there's plenty of things to do to meet other people. Classes you can take, whether it be cooking. And I wouldn't. I mean, it's good to try and integrate with the locals. Uh, from a friendlier standpoint of view. And it depends where you are. As you know, there's different expat communities, some larger than others, some smaller.
Okay. So that's good advice. Thank you, man. You're giving it all. You can
I don't
tell
know if it's
you
advice.
I can tell you've been doing this for a very long time. You're a full expat. I can hear it in you. Let me ask, what's it been like for you personally, raising a family and becoming part of the family dynamic in another country? How has that been?
Um, I lost you for a second. Okay, say that. Can you repeat the question for me?
Okay, sorry. What's it been like for you being a Canadian and being raised and all that, in that world, coming to Nicaragua and raising a family and being a husband and a father and being part of that family dynamic? How's that been for you, doing it somewhere in a country outside of your own?
Um, that's been one of the best experiences that I found. Um, the difference. Okay, I grew up in a Canadian culture, and I'm sure
Right.
America grew up in American culture. But what I quickly found here is that culture and family is much stronger than in North America. And what you there's here when someone meets someone, it's always like, what's their name? What's their middle name? What's their last name? What's their
Okay.
second last name? Because it's a small community. Everybody knows
Everybody.
everybody. So when you understand that principle and that concept that everybody knows everybody and the world is smaller, you realize that your name, your credibility, what you stand for, what you say means something. It's something that's imparted upon and stamped into you to teach your children and pass on in the culture. Here in North America, you have an address where you find. In Nicaragua, it's your name on your door,
Yeah.
right? And so name means something. It's something you want to protect, unless you just don't care. But in a small country where everything matters, then your name means something. So unless you're here just to hit and run or make a buck and leave or flip and divide, whatever it is, maybe you don't care. Maybe you don't have any ties to the country. But when you have ties to the country and you're going to be here for, your legacy and your children's children, then you're creating something that's going to last much longer. So because I'm in the real estate business, I don't have a boss. I am the boss. I'm the owner of the company. And what I develop now or what I create now is based on a name that's going to last a long time. A name that my children can carry forward and be proud to be in the country. I joke with my kids sometimes. I'm like, Kevin, Anthony, you're Nicaraguan. You could be president one day. You were born here.
That's that's a good goal though. That's the way to shoot, right? Like,
I don't know if they want to, but they could.
yeah, they could. That's true.
They
So,
absolutely could try.
so let's talk about the business because we've been going around it a lot. It's
Sure.
obviously it has controlled a lot. So you're into real estate. This is your full-time gig here in Nicaragua now?
Real estate has been my full-time passion in the country for the last 20 years.
So tell me about it, man. Tell me how it started. How did this? Because how do you
To the
just
day
move
I
to?
died, there'll be no
Yeah,
retirement.
yeah, I'm just saying, dude, you moved to another country and real estate's a very personal business. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's very few times in life that somebody's going to make 100 or a $200,000 decision. Do you know what I mean? And especially for either expats or the locals, anything. So for you to be able to find that common ground with people and discuss with them, I'm sure there's something to it, man. So tell me, how did you start that? How did you move to another country and be like, I'm going to help you make your dreams come true? How did it go down?
It's a good question. Oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start with that. Let's start at the beginning. Let's start at the beginning. The beginning is after I got married, I was broke. Like there was nothing left. There was no money left.
That's always
I
how
was
a good
I
story
was about I was
starts.
about $15,000 in debt. So I'm borrowing money to have a destination wedding that probably cost me 40,000. So my principal goal was, hey, look, the real estate industry is booming. It's 2004 in which I'm seeing the opportunity. 2005 when I'm in country, I'm like, let's go find some properties that we can renovate, flip, and people will buy. That was the only thing on my mind. I didn't come from a real estate background, construction background. I understood the principal process of it, but not from a real estate developer standpoint of view. So it never even crossed my mind. I was just looking for a house. And then
Right.
it turned out we found land. So I went from looking and maybe borrowing 50,000 to buy something and fix it up and maybe bring on some investors to committing to $1.2 million in contracts to buy 17 acres and a kilometer and a half of property over a period of 6 months. So I'm like,
That went fast.
that was my wife negotiated. I'm like, okay, honey, well, let's go find some people. So my first experience was I had to round up a few business associates to make our first purchase, which was about $200,000.
Okay.
And that was our start. And so we We bought 17 acres of land under contract, created a master plan, recruited International Living based upon the due diligence that we did and the title insurance that we got on the land, and started selling the dream. Okay, with a plan to create a small, basic community on the beach, and that's how we got started. And then there's more stories after that, but I'll let you,
20 years.
I'll stop and I'll let you it out because that's just the beginning. That was the beginning, and then that took us 7 months, and in that 7 months, we had some challenges that came after that. I ran into this is where you run into bad business associates when you don't do your due diligence. This is where you run into defective titles where your legal experts make a mistake, and then what do you do after that?
So it's
And
20
that
years,
becomes
20 years of experience you have, man. You've been doing this for a long time.
let's see, 20 years. What have we gone through? If I go on, let's see. We bought land with no experience and no money. We raised money from investors in the United States, Canada, UK, and Europe that we didn't know. We traveled to and presented Nicaragua to over 100 presentations around the world. It's probably spoken to over 1,000 people individually. We have 66 clients that have closed on properties, over 100 titles transferred, been through defective titles, been through financial crash of 2008. Oh yeah, what do we also come across? We had to scrap and walk away from $2 million in development plans and start over. We found a property and raised another $4.5 million. So went from 17 acres to 923 acres. Let's see whatever else happened. Started construction, had to stop. Signed big brands, lost them in crazy smear campaigns. Went through the demonstrations of 2018. I got into a really serious accident in 2019, almost died. COVID in
Oh,
2020, and here we are in 2025,
still making it happen.
and feeling good about everything. So it's different, like some people would give up, but this is like it's what I do. So when you start something, if you think it's only going to be good times, you're like in some sort of disillusioning yourself, right? There's going to be good times and bad times and different. And sometimes things are going to go away. A lot of times they're not going to go your way. And I've learned a lot about human nature, the greediness of people, the enviousness of people, the jealousy of people, and the flip side, people who are generally there for you. So, your friends are the ones that are there for you in the bad times, not the good times, right?
Right.
So, at the end of the day, it's always like, by the time there's proof, it's too late. That's an old real estate saying, right? So
Okay.
yeah, you get in early and you can reap the benefits, but you also go through the surprises that may come about. I'm all about due diligence, so I'm kind of a geek that way. So I've become an expert in the country. And so pretty well can cover everything after 20 years of real estate development. And only now coming out of the ground for the second time around to try it again. But we never give up. We could try now and something could happen. Hey, we got to wait 4 more years. Okay, we'll just try again in 4 years. That's the way it is.
That's
What am
the
I going
way
to do
it
in the
is.
meantime to make money or something like that? Well, I guess I'll have to sell some crypto or something. I'll have to let one of my Bitcoins go or something.
Okay. So I know this question because it can be so I'm sure this changes every 5 years, but just give me an overall if we can. What has been the hardest part of this for you, being an expat? I know for me it changes every couple of years because I've been here for 10 years, but if you could overview everything, you've been here for a very long time. What's been the hardest part of this for you?
I suppose that's going to be different in how it relates to whether it's living in country or doing business in the country. Those
Okay.
would be two distinctly different things, right?
Right.
If when it comes to doing business in the country, the hardest thing would be trying to do business while you're out of country. That hands down would be number one. When you're in country, the hardest thing for an expat is probably going to be the language barrier or the expect. Here's what I find. My experience of talking to people is that expats come into the country, and I don't know why or where it is, but the expectation is you're expecting that culture to come to you and invite you to where you want to go. And then
Okay.
for whatever reason, you see that doesn't happen. You're like, I don't like it here. I want to go home. It's like, no, what? Like if you want to go to that party or you want to go to that thing or you want to meet those people, you have to go and do it. You have to come out of your turtle shell and go do it because they're not going to come to you. So before you say, I don't like it, I can't meet anyone, I have no friends, my first question would be like, well, what did you do to go try and make friends? Did you go to that party and they wouldn't let you in? Did you call that person? They didn't return your call. Did you text that person and they ghosted you? Wait. So you haven't done any of that? So what are you waiting for? You're waiting for them to come to you. They don't even know who you are. So, two different things. So that would be kind of like, I haven't experienced that because from an expat standpoint of view, I guess my life has been 100% business. So my wife would tell you I have no work-life balance. I'm a workaholic, sometimes a perfectionist, but trying to cut back on that, trying to cut back on that. I'm trying to become more of the expat, but it's difficult when you own 923 acres and 2 kilometers of beach and you have 65 investors and invested over $10 million and you've worked with brands from Nicholas to Kemper Sports to Wyndham Hotel Groups and now you're launching another $20 million worth of real estate. There's no break for me, but I love it. It's not even work. It's just like, what am I going to do today? It's like, I don't
So
go to
there's
bed
no
or
there's no slowing down for you, huh?
no, I'm like more
No,
excited than ever.
it's just a lot of people that I speak to in the expat community. 9 times out of 10, one of the hardest things for them is they say, I know I was meant to slow down. I came here to slow down, but I didn't realize how slow it was, like how Nicaragua slow we are. You know what I mean? But in your case, it's the opposite, man. You're going hard. You're still in fifth gear. That's cool.
So,
That's
something
good to see. It's good to see that you've come here and you didn't just come here to slow down, that you're grinding, you're making it happen.
working as hard as I can. I would say, I'm going to speak just to me personally, all right?
Yes.
Because you learn through a little bit of wisdom and gray hair and losing other hair. You learn a few things. So, and I'll speak Nicaragua specific as it relates to here. When you come into a country where there's a lot of opportunity, all right, whether it be from an expat, but from a business standpoint of view, you can get emotionally excited. Those your hormone levels raise, endorphins are going crazy, right? The synapses are going off because you see opportunity everywhere. It's like, oh, they don't have this and they don't have that, and I can do this, and I can open that, and this could be a good business, and here's a great invention, and I can import this. Like all these ideas come to you that you could spread yourself too thin, trying to do too much rather than focusing on one specific thing, getting it done, getting it rolling, and then continue on with other things you see where there's great opportunity. And when you're in the country, you see that. So for me, the biggest challenge I have is trying to rein in my control. Like I want to, and just focus. Yes, that's a good idea. Yes, that's a good idea. I'll get into that furniture business later, and the salt business can wait. And yes, I'm going to open that hotel in Granada, but let's just get that beach project built first and get people down there, and all that stuff will come. So very early on, my mind was I don't want to say everywhere because we certainly did a lot of work in a short period of time, more so than a lot of other projects. So I'm very content that we didn't waste time on other things. But I would say that we probably could have saved $500,000. Not my eyes being so wide
Right.
open of like the opportunities. And but that's just the spirit, the sentiment of Nicaragua when you're here, or perhaps other countries that your viewers might be looking at is depending upon the type of character that you are, you'll see opportunities when you're looking for them. You'll see problems also when you're looking for them. So it just depends on what you want to see, and your mind will reveal those opportunities to you.
That's awesome. Thank you. That's awesome. That's cool. So okay. So either through work or through your personal life, because you're a workaholic, you get out and you see a lot of the country. You know the whole country, huh?
It, I've done it a few times.
Sorry, man.
I say that
Yeah, I can see you do this.
I've done it a few times, and I just did it recently 2 weeks ago. Everywhere
Okay.
from the Rancho Santana to the Iguana Beach to Guacalito to Tola to Rivas into Managua to the Grand Pacifica to the Huete to Matagalpa to Esteli to Jinotepe. I did the entire country on the Pacific side,
Okay.
just to
Yeah. Yeah.
confirm what I already knew, but to see what has changed. And it was wonderful. It was one of my best experiences just recently was visiting my first cigar factory, and that was amazing.
Ah.
I'd never actually seen that done. Took a lot of video, and it was an amazing process. I was like blown away. I think I was a little bit high coming out of the factory because I was like, But but I give you an interesting tidbit. I didn't, I went to a factory that had 900 workers there in this factory. They produce 75,000 cigars a day, 365 a year.
That's
Yeah, I was shocked.
wild.
And they're one of over 100 factories in Maligalpa.
Wow, that's wild. That is a crazy
Real sad.
production rate, huh?
Great. And they export mainly to the US and Europe.
I mean, we do have a top shelf cigar though. The Hoya is a premium brand. I've seen it win a couple of aficionado awards or whatever. So I can imagine. But that's a lot though. 750,000 a day.
Well,
That's
I
yeah,
have no
dude.
idea. I'm
Yeah,
not
that's
really
madness.
I'm not a big
That's
cigar aficionado, so I'm not going to proclaim to be that, but
right, right.
I was impressed by that. It
No,
was
yeah,
interesting.
that's impressive. That is. It's
And
crazy.
I already been to a coffee plantation, so I did that thing. But the cigar factory, I hadn't been to. I haven't gone volcano skiing yet.
Oh, the volcano boarding. Yeah.
Volcano boarding. Thank you for correcting me. I haven't done that yet. My wife probably wouldn't appreciate me doing that, but for now, I look at the videos. I'm like, it kind of looks like fun.
It's fun, man, but you're gonna be getting dirt out of your ass for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah,
It
is
doesn't
it like
matter,
that, right?
bro. You have the whole outfit, the gear, everything is
Well,
perfect. You're gonna be pulling volcano dirt out of your ass for 2 weeks. I
I
did
can
it a
see
couple
that.
years ago with the friends, and yeah,
Okay, you did.
I have done it. Yeah. Like I said, it's amazing. It's a lot of fun. The hike up is really where it's at because that's a 2 hour thing. You're down in 3 minutes. Do you know what I mean? But
Two hour hike or
yeah,
3 minute.
the hike
Oh,
up
you're
is
right.
cool. You could see the view over the next three volcanoes right from there. So
Hmm.
it's really beautiful. It was nice. The way
Oh,
down though, you're dirt. You're eating everything. It's tough.
well, it's funny, from a real estate standpoint of view or an expat standpoint, I think both I can impart this knowledge upon you. After being across the world and talking to sovereign wealth funds and mutual funds and fund managers and private family offices, the next wave of finding a country is the same for everybody, for all those people at the top level. Excuse me. And it's probably the same for the expat too, is that the essence of finding the right country for whoever that person might be comes down to four things. One is the safety of the country, right? How do you feel within the country? Two is the location, how easy to access to get there, flights in and out. Three is the tourism opportunities. What is there to do? And
Yeah.
four is what type of foreign investment is going into the country. Those are the four critical things that people look at. So Nicaragua has always been one of the safest countries all across the Americas, despite the misnomer that it's not. The location, it couldn't be any easier to get here,
Right.
from Miami or from LA or from Houston. It's simple to get here. No shortage of stuff to do. I mean, you could spend a month here and every day be out and still not cover everything. And the foreign investment, well, with the new airport going in, the coastal highway, and you drive around Managua and all across through Masaya or Catarina, you see new highways, one of the best highways in the country system here. In fact, the highways are so great, so paved, you can probably go 150 kilometers an hour on them with no problem, double lane. But
On
now
the
50
the
kilometers an hour.
Carretera Sur, what's it called? The Pan American Highway, man, between me and you going that way to Granada. Where are you, Granada right now? Dude, that's like a 6 lane highway. Like it's just
Yeah, it's
beautiful. Yeah,
amazing.
dude,
It's
asphalt and everything. You could fly on that thing if you
five,
wanted
it's
to.
50 kilometers an hour. People go
Man.
faster at night than they do during the day.
True.
That's what I've noticed. I seem to
So
leave during the day and come back at night, so I see that all the time.
I usually have a question for everybody, and this might be hard for you, but what would be a hidden gem? Like if there's a foreigner watching and they're like, all right, I'm going to go to Nicaragua, what area would you, as a hidden gem, suggest that they go to? Because the top three are San Juan del Sur, Granada, and Ometepe. Everybody knows those are the places where we're going to hit, right? Would you suggest anything outside of that? Anywhere else these people should go check things out?
The moment you start to think about asking me that question, my mind always splits into two because I'm not just an
Okay.
expat living here. I do business here. So I would say when you ask me that question, is it from a business standpoint of view or personal standpoint of view?
Both. Give me
So I knew
both. Come on,
I knew
man.
you were going to say both. I
We're
knew you were
here
going to say
talking
both.
about it. Yeah, we're here
So
talking about it.
I'm gonna plug my real estate, not my real estate, but my area.
Put it
Okay.
in.
So
Yeah, let's
from a
go.
real estate standpoint of view, for people to understand, is the country's been developing since 1997, and they developed up from Costa Rica into the south, in the San Juan del Sur, Madeira region. Okay, and that's where the San Juan del Sur is built out. That's been the party town, the surfer town, and a lot of projects have developed from that region in the development zone of 1997 to 2006, 7. All right. In the central where we're located, in the Masachapa, Pochimil, Montelimar region, because most of the development in the country started from driving up from Costa Rica and then afterwards from flying into Liberia, nobody flew into Managua just to drive 3 hours to get to San Juan del Sur, or 2.5 hours if I want to be generous. They were driving up from Costa Rica. That was the only business coming in. And then, of course, business started coming in directly from Managua, and people would drive down to San Juan del Sur because there was nothing in the central. There was no development. 2002, I believe it is, Grand Pacific came on the scene in the El Villa del Carmen region, which was great, which is where you're located. And I walked that beach on my honeymoon. When they were promoting, like, there's going to be a Marriott hotel here. I go back that far where I saw renderings of a Marriott hotel and 27 holes of golf. And Grand Pacific is an amazing, excellent project after all these years, and they've done a great job. And then we came along a little further south in 2007 in the Pochimil region, and we had tremendous success. So I like to name the region from Masachapa, where the coastal highway is located, down to the Costa Rican border. It's going to be an amazing hour and a half. I think it's 92 kilometers of road. But where we're located is the closest to Managua. And in the center where we're located, I call it the Pacific Passage. And I believe this is the next development zone where we're located. And we're directly in the center of this Pacific Passage, where it's 8 kilometers up the beach to Masachapa and 10 kilometers to Boquete. And you have this great stretch of 20 kilometers of beach where there's no rocks, there's no coral, there's no algae, and you can walk the entire beach line and there's nothing stopping you. It's an amazing, there's no other beach in the country that's the longest, the nicest, the widest, lowest tide beach you're going to find, and the safest to swim in without riptides. It's not where you go to surf. Okay, so if the south is surf, the central is swim, and the north is, I don't know what the north is yet. It's still kind of developing.
It's still developing up there.
There's a marina up there, Marina Puesta del Sol, but there's not much going on in the north yet. Yeah, which I mean, I think they're talking about the coastal highway going up to Corinto. So
that's what I've heard. Yeah,
the north will develop over time. And I visited beaches up there. Our first project is up near the Salinas Grandes area and Puerto Sandino, which is where you have some good fishing. But outside of that, and north of that, I think you have Ponoloyo, but it's a small area. But there's not going to be large-scale developments coming into the country of Nicaragua. Probably, I foresee at least 20 years from a development standpoint of view, because most of the large tracts of property in the country were purchased very early on, and then the developers just chopped up the beach, sold it off, and then, okay, what are we going to do with the rest of the land we got back here? Right? So there's not much could change in many of the projects because a lot of the stuff is already sold. Nothing was really master planned from the beginning. I've been around so long where there's projects where the owners just hired a tractor and said, I think a lot would go good up that road. Let's just drive the tractor there. Let's just make a road and we'll put a lot at the top. What about the soil surveys and the clay, and when the rain comes, and how are you going to get up there when you slide back down, and how do you know what that?
Just put it up there.
I remember surveyors on our property doing surveys and checking things out for the unitary permits, and they would tell me horror stories, like they would, because they all small communities, everybody talks.
Yeah.
So they tell me, like, I would not buy there. That's something waiting to slide down a mountain. So I'm always cautious with mountains and what areas of the country and what are the waters and the problems with water. Like, I see things from a different light.
Sure,
now, so from a real estate standpoint of view, to answer your question, definitely where the central region is located, in the Masachapa, Pochimil, Montelimar area, where the coastal highway starts or ends, depending upon where you're coming, that for sure, and the closest point to Managua from the airport. I mean, just logic tells you that's going to be the next up and coming zone to watch out. And that's where we are.
That's where I live. Yeah, no, I know.
That's kind of where we do business, right? That's where we get it from a project side. I'm not here to plug my real estate, but that zone, from a business standpoint of view, if you're looking to get in early, great spot. From a personal standpoint of view, the gems, I myself have never been a fan of San Juan del Sur. Too transient for me.
Okay.
Because it's people are coming and going all the time. So the number one complaint I get from expats who come down here is they live there, but then they move out of there.
Yeah.
Because it's just too much coming and going. Nice place, nothing wrong, but just too much coming and going. It's hard. There's no real established base there. I say most of the expats in Grenada. Ometepe, to be direct, I've only been there once when I flew in on a helicopter for like an hour as I was doing site tours around the country. So I don't know it well enough to say, I know it's a hidden gem, but I don't know it well enough to say, hey, that hotel or that hostel or
Right,
that
right.
place, I don't know it that well. There's some hidden gems like Hikuro Resort Retreat in Lake Nicaragua in the Isletas. I
Okay,
just
there
visited
we go.
there.
That's a good one.
There's a $1,400 a night luxury resort, no air conditioning in the room sort of place, and all inclusive, but amazing, amazing. So you can imagine that $1,400 a night for a hotel with no air conditioning in a lake where you got to take a boat to get to.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
they put all the trash on the island in a boat to haul it off. But it was amazing. It was so nice. So they only got like 9 villas there, but I'll give the credit to where credit's due. They did a great job there. That's Hikaro Retreat in Lake Nicaragua. So anyone watching this, check it out because it's a really nice place. Outside of that, I mean, Granada and Leon are the two typical colonial cities, as you know. They are hidden gems for sure. I guess it depends what you want. Hidden gem for business. If you're looking for people, there are some hidden gems where you're not going to find anyone. Complete isolation, right? If you want people, there's other places to go. So it depends on the flavor of the person.
Okay. All right.
I mean,
So
Managua to me is a hidden gem.
it
I'll
is.
be like, but it's stupid. No, but like you just if you know where to go in Managua or what you're doing, there's some real cool places. So it depends. I mean, where are you going to go see a movie at a Cineplex? It's not going to be in Granada or Leon.
Yeah.
It's going to
I'll
be at
I'll
Galleria
I'll
Mall.
tell you, Managua's a unique city in the sense that if you go through there through the day, it's not that impressive. It's kind of like just a hustle and bustle spread out thing. But at nighttime, if you know the areas to go to, it's a great city.
Yes,
Outdoor
yes.
dining, nice music, food. Like it really is a cool city if you know how to navigate.
And they
Absolutely.
just redeveloped the whole port area at the front along the lake.
Yeah, the port area
Right.
is gorgeous.
So, I mean, people say, oh, fly into Managua and you get out of there as fast as possible. Those are people who just don't like to venture out or do something, or you
Right,
like to
right.
be in community, which is fine. Everyone has their own taste, but every place has its charm. And Managua, it's not perfect, but it's a different place in the day than it is at night. And
Yes.
you'll go to different places in the day that you won't go to at night. It has both angles. But I love Managua. In fact,
Yeah.
one of the biggest surprises I had back in March was driving down because for all your viewers and I was here when Carta Messiah was only one lane. Okay. I go back that far. And I happened to be around when they expanded it to 2 lanes, and now it's 3 lanes. So over 20 years, every time they add a lane, there's just more cars on the road. I'm like, where's all these cars coming from?
Yeah, yeah.
Third lane, I'm like, where's all these? And there's new cars, not old cars. I'm like, some people are doing well here because there's enough cars on the road to fill 3 lanes going back and forth for 20 kilometers. I'm like, there's business going on in the country. Like things are
There's a lot
happening.
of Asian cars coming in. Have you seen the cherries? Those are nice.
Yeah, yeah, I've seen a lot of different things. I'm like, what? I never heard of that one
Yeah,
before.
me either. I exactly. I'll stop and be like,
Uh,
"That's nice. What is that?"
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I've
Uh,
driven everything from Prados to BMWs to Hiluxes to Yaris, and so I'm seeing all
yeah,
the names here. I'm like, oh, that's a cool looking car.
yeah.
Frontier's not new, but Forerunners, Fortuners, all kinds of
The
stuff here.
Fortuner's not
Oh, I like
available in
them.
this in our. Yeah, I like those as well. They're very
The
nice
Toyota
vehicles.
Rush, the Toyota Rush is kind of like a mid-level
I
kind of
haven't
thing.
driven one of those yet, but I do know what you're saying. The little one for
Not
the city,
fancy, but
right?
it's okay. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, dude, that's awesome. Toyota's been they're I like that company. They make good cars.
Yeah, I rented a Prado the other day at 267,000 kilometers.
And
This
it's
thing's
warming
gonna
up.
work. Am I gonna be
And
safe enough to drive in this thing? Like, no, that thing
dude,
is
that's
great.
warming up. Yeah, that's just starting to
Yeah,
get to go.
those Prados are amazing.
Yeah, they are definitely. I had a Land Cruiser for a really long time, man. I can't justify the expense anymore, but man, it was a beautiful, great, big, giant truck. It was awesome.
Yeah, no, they're amazing. I like those Land Cruisers.
Yeah, yeah. I had the 100 series. It was a really beautiful. It still had that rugged aspect, but the luxury part of it as well. It was great, great vehicle for us for many years, many years.
Amazing.
So, okay, back to your personal experience, right? If you can tell yourself something from now to when you were first embarking on this vacation, you could tell yourself one thing, what would it be?
That's a good question. Every day I learn new experiences of what I would tell myself 20 years ago.
We all do, man. Hindsight is
But
2020.
tell you why it's a good question is because I have my oldest son is 20 My second is 18. My third son's 11, and my little girl's 10. And so, oh, my computer is doing its little thing right now. It's funny in the humidity. I don't know if you have it on your computer, but I started experiencing this. My key on my keyboard is starting to stick a little bit. Oh, you hear this blah 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 blah. This sound. That's what it is. So hopefully you get it. It'll disappear in a second. I may have to change rooms and go where there's no humidity. If I this really sucks. I'm thinking. Let me see. If this doesn't stop, you might have to cut this part out of the recording.
That's all, well, yeah, it's all edited
Yeah,
anyway. We're okay.
let me see because maybe I'll just go into another room because you can hear that, right?
I don't hear anything.
You don't hear anything?
No, I hear
Oh,
you. I hear
you
you
hear
clearly.
okay, so maybe it's just on my side. I hear like when a key is stuck and you keep pressing it and it
Ding 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 ding.
yeah. Okay.
No,
I
I
think
don't hear it.
I think I fixed it. It stopped on my end. Okay, cool. All
Okay,
right. So
okay, yeah.
ask me the question again and I'll come back to it.
Okay, okay. What is one thing that if you were able to go back and tell yourself 20 years ago when you were first embarking on this adventure, what would that one thing be? What would you teach yourself with all this knowledge that you have now and you've picked up all this time? What would you tell yourself?
Okay, that's a great question because as I just mentioned, I have four children, 20, 18, 11, and 10. So I don't have to tell myself, it's what I'm telling my kids today.
Ah,
All right. And from the experience that I have, I'll come at it from two different perspectives. Okay. From a business perspective and from a personal perspective. From a business perspective, I would say this. It really is true that there are two types of people in this world. The ones that work hard to build things, and other people work hard to tear other people's things down. Okay, so you've heard the saying, maybe there's two ways to build the tallest building in town. One way is you work hard, you plan it, you design it, you're permanent, you build it, and great, it looks amazing. And the other way is you tear down that person's stuff. What's left is whatever you built. Okay, so there's a lot of, from a business standpoint of view, it doesn't matter what you create. Anything you try to create that's going to be good, nice, perfect, people are going to want to try and take it, steal it, knock it down, talk bad about it, because there's just those type of people out there. And to think otherwise is naive. And when I started, I was naive. We did everything the right way, bright eyes. This is what we want to do. Never even thought that there could be a dark side where what we were doing, people would actually not like it or want to destroy it. It never even occurred to me. I just didn't have that life experience at 33 in business, specifically in real estate development in a foreign country.
sure.
That existed. It was just, let's just do the best for everybody and let's bring the North American style of due diligence and disclosure and securities and transparency to the world. And people are going to love buying a secure North American due diligence project in a foreign country. That seems like a good idea to me. So that was my perspective. And so my lessons learned is there are people out there, forces that you don't know, that will try and knock that down. So from a business standpoint of view, it's unfortunate and maybe a little bit negative. I'll get some controversy, but trust nobody and expect whatever you're being built that people are going to want to take it. And I'll give you an example. It's not just me. There's a particular speaker, writer, author that I like. His name is Jim Rohn. I found him a little later in life.
The football guy.
No, not the football guy. He was basically just a business guy.
Okay, okay. Jim Rome. I've heard of this, but go ahead.
His name is Jim Rohn. He goes back in the early 80s, okay, like a motivational speaker sort of thing. And I found him late in life. But to put in perspective of who he was obviously, you've heard of Tony Robbins.
Yes.
If you're thinking more, he was Tony Robbins' mentor.
Okay.
Tony Robbins worked for him. Tony Robbins helped to gather the people and promote the shows for him. So what Tony Robbins does today, Jim Rohn did before Tony Robbins. If you listen to a lot of Tony Robbins stuff, it came from Jim Rohn.
Okay.
Not to bash Tony Robbins, he's great, but that's where Tony Robbins started. So that's who Jim Rohn is. So he describes this book, and I believe it's called, oh man, I'm going to get it wrong now. Seasons, I think it's called. But he talks about, and this is one of the biggest lessons I've learned, is you have a winter season, and there's spring, and there's summer, and there's fall, just like normal within the climates, and that doesn't change, right? So he'll say, like, how many years when you go back over time was there a winter? And what comes, if I asked you right now, what comes after winter?
Spring.
Yeah. And what comes after summer?
Winter. Or fall.
Fall.
Sorry. Yeah, fall. Yeah,
Anyway,
sorry. Yeah,
so
sorry.
so
Fall.
is summer ever going to come after fall?
No, doesn't work
Is
like that,
spring
right?
ever going to come after summer?
Right.
No. So he describes business and life in general like that. So the hard times that you're going to have with work in life, your personal, your finances, those are the winters of your life. It doesn't mean they last 3 months. They could last 3 years. They could
Right.
last 10 years, right?
Right.
But it was a long winter, right? And then spring will come into your life where you do the planting and you're starting something new and you're starting to see a fresh way of doing things, right? And then you have the summertime, right, where things are growing, right? And there's the weeds start coming in your garden and you have to like take them out. And then eventually the fall comes and now you reap the harvest of what you planted in the spring.
Okay.
So life is like that.
I could see
But you
this
never know
allegory.
how
That's
long.
nice.
You never know how long it's going to be. So going back to what I was saying about the business life experience, what I would tell my kids, I would tell them exactly this. But what you need to prepare for is in the summers of your life, in the summers of your business, that when the weeds start to grow, if you don't take the weeds, if you don't watch out for the weeds, they'll take your garden. And
Yeah.
and just like that, no matter what business you're in. I didn't know this. I learned it the hard way. I didn't even know weeds could grow in your garden from a business standpoint of view. I thought the garden would just look great while everything's growing. What? I got to like watch out for weeds? I need pesticide here? Like,
That's
so,
awesome. That's a great
so
allegory, man. That's
no,
amazing.
it's one of the biggest lessons I've learned. So from I tell my kids, whatever you're gonna do, or when you take over this, whatever I'm doing, long after I'm gone, be wary because you're gonna have only so many springs in your life. You're definitely gonna have long winters, and in the summer times, whenever you think things are going good, don't just be like, this is amazing. And, let's go on vacation. No, that's when you really got to work hard to watch out who wants to take it from you,
Right,
and
right.
take the weeds out of your garden and watch out for that. So that reap and the harvest is there. So you need to survive the winters, work hard in the springs. And in life, you only have so many springs. You'll have long winters, but only so many springs. It could be a
That is a
relationship,
great
no
way to put
girlfriend,
this, man.
right? So, well,
Yeah.
it was one of the big. It made an impact on me. So you asked me. So this is a personal thing. It made an impact on me, and so it applies to both personal and business. That's what I've learned, and this is what I would tell myself is like there's seasons in life that parallel to personal and business as in like, and these are the things that happen during those seasons. And it's like the same author would say, you you'll never know well, you might not. It's like what's the old saying? You don't know what you don't know. Okay,
Right.
that's one thing. All right, that's fine. Okay, but you should ask some questions. So that in life, I find that probably your number one job in life. I say this loosely, is to find out how things work. Because the last thing you want to do is go around life not knowing how things work. And most of the trouble that people get into or will run into is because they just simply didn't know or take the time to figure out how things work. All right, and so um, you just got to know, right? And don't spend any time figuring. Don't ask yourself like, well, why does it work that way? Don't even worry about that. Just know that's the way it is.
Right.
Okay, and you got to go with it. It's like someone lies to you, right? And you're like, I don't understand why he lied to me. I don't lie to him. I tell him the truth all the time. Why would he lie to me? I can't figure it out. I wonder why he did that. And then time will go by, and suddenly the same thing. He lies to you, and it's like he did it again. He lied to me. Like even after the first time, he didn't. He still does it. I don't know why he does it. Well, my advice is stop trying to figure out why he lied to you. He lied to you. He's a liar. That's what liars do. They lie. Why are you surprised by that?
That's like the scorpion and the frog.
Right, right. Or yeah, like give me a ride across the
Yeah,
pond,
yeah.
right?
I'm gonna fucking.
But no
I'm not
way,
gonna sting you.
you're gonna sting me.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm not going to, because then we're both gonna drown, right?
And then he fucking drowns, and then the whole purpose of that,
Why are you
I'm a
doing? Well, because
scorpion, dude. What
I'm a
did you What
scorpion.
did you think was gonna happen?
I'm a scorpion. That's what I do. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I do, man. Yeah,
So
I
life is
get
like
you.
that.
I get
So
it.
I guess as a dad, as a business person, I try to impart the knowledge that I have upon the clients who want to buy real estate, who have no idea and ask all the wrong questions, how to safely do so in the country. And I
Okay,
try to pass it on to my kids.
That just gave me the next question. Sorry,
Oh, it did.
segue.
Okay.
What are the wrong fucking questions? What do you mean? You just said for when people are looking as expats to move somewhere. Okay,
Yeah.
so you told me earlier the four main things that people look for that are investing in countries, right? And we name that off as far as big investors. As you
Investing or
just
moving.
yeah, but we're gonna talk about the average Joe, just a dude who's been, going through life in the States, and he's like, man, cost of living here sucks. I see these guys talking, you know what I mean? I want to make this move as a piece of advice. What are the right questions? What should somebody ask you?
Okay. Boy, I think we would need a second and third call for hours, but I would say I w-
That
in
means
my
I'm doing good.
in my experience, this is coming from transferring 100 titles, dealing with 66 people who bought, which means I also dealt with probably 66 people who didn't buy, right?
Right.
Because not everybody buys. Well, I'm good, but I'm not that good. But uh, when people come into buying real estate in a foreign country, it's no surprise that it's very emotional. The heat gets you, the Tonya gets you, the Florida Canya will impair your judgment. Okay. Depending if it's 7, 18, or 21. Okay. And then you have other factors, whether you're in a group situation or the fear of missing out, FOMO, in
Right,
what's going
right.
on, or the hardcore sales techniques that might be impressed upon you. So very rarely do people really understand the real important things in a development where they're going to buy real estate that matter the most. Okay. And so one is title. Okay, that's like number one. All right. I won't go through all the details, but there's 5 different titles in Nicaragua, from freehold title where you own land yourself, agrarian title, which is land that was confiscated and it could be divided or undivided. There's possession title, there's um, lease land, and communal titles. So when people start coming into land, I can tell you in 20 years, not one person, not one person has asked me, what type of title are you selling? As the first question. Not one. And it's the most important question. Okay.
It is a very important
So
question.
that's number one, because each one of those has their own individual things that make it more valuable or less valuable,
How
or
to
things you need
navigate.
to worry about versus not worrying about. So going back to, like, you got to know how things work. So when you're looking to purchase real estate in country, when people can't tell you the different types of titles and the pros and cons of each of the titles and which title they have and what makes that title more valuable, then that should send up red flags. I'll give you an example just for title specific. In our particular project, we have a freehold title, and the title could be traced back. I'm not saying this has to be for everybody, but you should at least be able to trace it back 30 years. Ours goes back 120 years. Okay, and I've been the owner for the last 20. And it's property that has title insurance from US carriers like First American Title and Stewart Title Guarantee. So I've spent $100,000 to get $8 million of title insurance, and a land's been checked 3 ways, all over the place. So that's a good title, right? We're the only title in the country where you're going to find title insurance from 2 different carriers on it. It simply doesn't exist in the country. So that's number one. If you're not buying a freehold title and it's something else, well, they can reach out to you or me or in your description. I'll give you some more information
There you
on that.
go.
But number two question to ask would be, tell me about your water. Oh, well, what do you mean? Well, do you have any on your land? Like, where does the water come when I want to turn on the sink or flush the toilet? Do I got to collect this water when it rains 6 months of the year? And I need to know whether I'm going to build a 5, 10, or 15,000 gallon cistern to collect the water in the dry season because you as a project doesn't have it. And if I got to buy it, where do I get it from? How much does that cost to truck in and deliver? And on what days do they deliver and don't deliver? And this is sounding complicated. Or do you own your own, or it's actually a well that's on someone else's property 5 kilometers down the road, where he lets you run a pipe from his well to your project to fill up your tank. Well, is there a contract? What happens if the guy dies? Are you in the will that says this thing has to continue on? What if he cuts the water? What's the backup? Right? Okay, so there is no water, or it's someone else's water, or you have a well. Okay, so you have a well, but how many gallons of water per minute does it have? Okay, wait a second. So you only got 25 gallons of water per minute, but you propose to have 300 houses, and all the permits say you need to have 100 gallons of water per house. So you need 30,000 gallons a day and you only deliver 20. And you want to build a golf course that needs 100,000 gallons of water a day to keep green. Do you only plan on watering the greens, or are you doing the fairways and the rough too? What am I buying here?
All
Like,
right.
water is very impactful.
That's
Right.
a
And
great fucking, yeah, you're right. That's spot on, man.
right,
And it's
20
something
years.
so that you would take in the first in US at least or Canada, that'd be the last of your fucking questions. You just know, oh,
Yeah,
the water.
20
Yeah,
years.
oh, yeah, water's coming from here. Right, right.
20 years now, one person's asking that question. We're fortunate. We got 4 wells. We own the wells. We own the land. We have all the permits. And we can deliver 850 gallons of water per minute. We have enough water for 4 golf courses. Although I'm not interested in purchasing 4 golf courses. So if you're buying land in a golf course community, and depending upon, hey, you think I'm going to be on the fairway and it's going to be green, or there's depending on how much rough it could be dry and brown is what you're looking at, not the beautiful green that you might be used to seeing or thinking. Are the sprinklers in the fairway, or are they also in the rough? All right. And so there's different questions you might want to ask depending upon what you're purchasing.
That's fucking brilliant.
Right.
That's fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Not many
is.
people know to ask. No one asked that, but it's really important. So that's number 2.
All
And the
right.
third one, I'll end it with 3 because I can go on forever. But the
All right,
third
we'll do
one,
3. We'll do top 3.
so title, water, and perhaps just as important is, does it fall within a horizontal property regime? Now, what does that mean? Many developments have an HOA, right? Homeowners Association or Property Owners Association, depending upon where you're from. And these are the rules, regulations, covenants, and restrictions of a development. And when you buy a property, they're gonna say, hey, you got to pay $100 or $150 a month, and it's for the common areas, and it includes your water, and we're gonna maintain the land, and it's gonna look good, and we're gonna have security. It's definitely a fee you want to pay. Okay. Now, the challenge is most property developments in Nicaragua don't have this. Okay. And so what they have when you buy something is some guy will send you a PDF or Word document. Here's our rules and regulations. And you'll be like, okay, I'll send him my $100, right? And then suddenly what happens is you buy this beautiful beach lot or wherever you are, and beside it, the guy decides, I think I'm gonna start raising chickens here. Or this place, this development needs a place to put their garbage temporarily, so I'll just lease out this land, and it could be the garbage dump for the development. And I don't live there, so what do I care? But come put all your garbage there. But how happy are you going to be being the owner of that property? You're going to be like, this is ridiculous. Where do I talk to? I'm talking to HOA, and he's like, well, there's nothing we can do. What do you mean there's nothing you can do? Your HOA says this is this. No, there's nothing we do. And you know why? It's anything that is not registered in Spanish against the fee is simply not enforceable. It's just simply, if you feel like following it or not following it, or cross your fingers, that doesn't happen to you. So you can buy this great property, but then it gets devalued because the development falls apart or something happens that doesn't, like, I'll give you another example. Let's say I was some evil developer, right? And I'm like,
yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, ooh, what am I gonna do? Let's say, okay, my project blows up. What am I gonna do? Well, I know exactly what I'd probably do. I'd probably look for another developer that has all the infrastructure, all the golf course, whatever. I'd go probably negotiate, buy 2 beachfront lots that would be for sale, put together 200 feet of beach, and put up a 2 or 3 story condo building, and be like, you can't do this here because this is the development. These are the homes. I'm like, show me where it says I can't do that. I own the property. No, but only homes are here. You say that, but doesn't mean that can be here. Now I can go develop a property and I don't have any infrastructure costs, no water costs. Everything's all done. I just got to go sell condos. Respectfully looking good, but what I'm saying is they can't stop me.
Right.
So in
be
our
very
property,
clear on that paperwork.
Yeah. So when you buy, the question you should ask people is not, do you have a homeowners association? Not that you have a property owners association. The right terminal language do you have a horizontal property regime registered on the property? And it's the same language, but in Spanish, it's a horizontal property regime. It's the rules, regulations, covenants, restrictions that are on the property. So when it transfers title, not once, but twice, but forever and ever to the end of time, it always comes with these rules and regulations, restrictions that are enforceable. So in our particular case, I took 2.5 years to get there 379 individual titles on our property in individual zones of future development, golf, hospitality, condominiums, homes in different communities and regions of the project. And they all created what, imagine 379 deeds all put together into one deed with all the rules and regulations and restrictions. It took 2.5 years, over 600 pages of Spanish legal 11 by 14, whatever the size is,
Yeah, they're long.
before I transferred one title. Because once you transfer a title, it can't be put on afterwards. So if you transfer land without it there, that person always has to, like, an exception. Grandfather.
Right.
So we didn't do it. So even though I owned the property in January 2007, it wasn't until 2009 September that we started transferring properties.
That's
We had
incredible, man.
sold like 200 properties, but to early investors who knew that's what we were doing because of the value that it brings to the development. And I'll tell you one more thing why that's important. And it could potentially be why there's very few, limited number of hotels on the beach in Nicaragua to attract people. And I ran across this with Kemper Sports Management and also Wyndham Hotel Resorts when we signed on with them, is that I'm not going to be managing the hotel. You're going to hire a management company, a professional management company to do that.
Sure.
Or the hotel brand international have their own management company that they'll bring in to do it. But if they can't enforce rules and regulations and restrictions, they're not going to want to manage anything. Right?
Sure.
So if you want to attract the right people and the right management companies, you have to have the right foundations in place. So I knew this in advance, so I took the time to do it right. So I'm not saying that you're not going to get a good product at another development. What I'm saying is, if something happens beside you and or around you because of factors outside of the developer, or maybe because of the developer decides, wow, I'm going to build condos now, and I can't sell any lots because people don't want to buy raw land. So I'll just turn that beach land now into lots, into condos. And now you have 6 times the population where you thought it was just going to be a nice private beach. Right. So if that stuff doesn't matter to you, you want a 20-foot skate put pike park. I don't know what they're called,
I'm with you.
As your neighbor, right? Right. Then, hey, all the power to you. But in our particular property, I kind of like knowing that I have standards in place that can be there forever. So when I tell you and show you a picture of what it's going to look like, it'll always look like that and can be enforced.
That's amazing, man.
So those are three things. I could go on.
So
those would be three. So what I say, it's a title, water,
and yeah, title, water, regime, which are fucking brilliant. That's really good. Thank you, man.
I wouldn't get into like title insurance and letters of no objections and municipality permits.
What I was gonna say is, so how do I get if I wanted to buy a product from you? I want to work with you. I want to look at what you're doing. How do I get in touch with you? And everything that you're about to tell me, I will also put in our comment section.
Sure.
So let's plug it, man. How do I come on.
Okay. This is my shameless, selfless plug. Okay.
Fuck on this is what I'm talking about. Give me the plug.
I'm Kevin Fleming from Group Mariana. We're developing a 923-acre resort, not all at once, in phases. It has 2 kilometers of beachfront, but not only beachfront, but the property, it rolls from the beachfront and it goes back 500 feet. Then it gradually goes up a slope about 100 feet. And then there's a top level, 20 meters above sea level, where there's another mile of ocean view. And so really it's 2 miles there's a mile of beachfront and a mile of ocean view. It's not like all one flat level. So on our master plan, when you look at it, if it's anything beyond the first 500 feet, it's 20 feet above sea level, overlooking the ocean. And every site has an ocean view. That's how we developed the plan. So we've been doing this for 20 years. We have every single permit there possibly is that you can imagine in Nicaragua to develop specifically what we are doing. Right now, the Coastal Highway is under construction and is scheduled to be finished in April or May coming of next year. Anyone who wants to see our videos on YouTube can go to Playa Mariana. That's simply our channel name. There, I am posting every week the results of the progress that are taking place on site, so people can see and get a feel for what they're buying, so they can either know, like, or trust whatever they see. From a real estate standpoint of view, we're only focused on selling the very few beachfront home sites we have left. We have 46 lots, 29 of them are sold, 15 are on reserve. Okay, there's maybe only 1 or 2 properties. If you just want to buy a raw lot and build a home, that's not our focus right now. Our focus right now is the development of our hotel, our beachfront hotel that's probably going to span between 10 and 20 acres in size. We'll only have 100 units on these 20 acres, so it's very low density. And there'll be beachfront condos and townhomes, specific homes that are in the 3, 4, 5,000 square foot range. So we tend to fall in the I would say the mid tier of the higher end of real estate development in the country. So if I were to put into perspective for the viewers that don't know, there's only really four types of brands you're going to buy. There's a Walmart, right? There's a Costco, there's the Coca-Cola, Lululemon, and then there's the Louis Vuitton, right? There's four categories of projects. And in Nicaragua, there's a lot of Walmart. There- there's no real Costco, and there's a few Coca-Colas in there, like the Rancho Santanas and the Iguana
Yeah.
Beach, Grand Pacifica. But there's only one Louis Vuitton player, and that's Guacalito in the 6-star range, right? So
Right.
I don't have Carlos Bellis's money. I'm not a billionaire. But so we're not trying to compete with him, but we're in that category of quality pricing
Okay.
to give your viewers a sense of where we are.
Okay.
So when you're looking for beachfront condominiums directly on the beach, anywhere ranging from 505 square feet to 4,000 square feet, townhouses that start at 2,000 square feet up to 3,500, homes that start at 3,000 to 5,000 square feet, price ranges in between $150,000 for a condominium and upwards. That's where we play in the range of property offerings. Right now, all your viewers can go to where we're collecting information on our wait list, which is it's just our website, www.playamariana.com. Playa Mariana, P-L-A, Y-A, Mariana, Mariana.com. There you can register to get on our wait list. We send out emails regularly. In the new year, specifically, I'm waiting. I'm waiting. Why? Right now, we are ready to install the water in the development, and we are ready to put in the power in the development. But I would like the roads to be a little further finished. And so we anticipate releasing our real estate for sale through a webinar. It's how we've always done it in the past. We always sell out in 1 day, in 2 hours, whatever we release. That'll be sometime in mid-February. And that will give people enough time for an end of where those people who come and register with refundable deposits and escrow can come down to Nicaragua, see the site for themselves, participate in this groundbreaking event, and witness history in the making at this in what it is that we're doing. And so, yeah, I'm pumped up. I'm fired up. So,
Dude, it sounds very exciting, man. That's awesome.
yeah, I
I'm
think when it comes to real estate in the country, we are the one project with the most beachfront real estate available for sale, and likely so that hasn't already been sold for the next 10 years.
That's
We
amazing.
only sell beachfront.
That's amazing, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, Kevin, man, wow, dude, you really you dropped some bombs on us today. You gave us a lot of knowledge, man. We went a lot of different places. I appreciate your time. I know how special that is, dude. You're a busy guy, so I really want to say I appreciate you. Thank you so much for talking to me, for letting my viewers hear what you got to say, man. And I wish you nothing but the best, dude. Thank you.
Thanks, Diego. It's been a pleasure. Anytime I can get on a call like this and try and impart some knowledge and some wisdom and pass along some lessons that I've learned, and I certainly don't know them all, but they're lessons from the School of Hard Knocks, that's for sure. And we only scratched the surface of stuff from which I can talk about in stories. And maybe there'll be a part two for this interview another time. I'll be like, I got to hear more. This is too good. I got to hear more. Maybe for all you viewers watching right now, if you want more, comment in Diego's description there. Let's get that algorithm working, and let's get this the video out. More people on YouTube looking to buy international real estate who are focused on due diligence and buying property the right way and safely in whatever it is you're going to buy or get involved in the country, because you got to live somewhere. You got to live somewhere.
So yeah, man, I'll have in the comments section how people could reach you, dude. And thank you, man. This is amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, Diego. You have yourself a great day anytime.
Kevin, wow, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. That was an amazing interview, man. That was a really good one. Thank you for sharing all your knowledge with us. And I wish you nothing but the best, man. Positive vibes sent your way. To my viewer at home, if there are any questions that you want me to ask to any of my future guests, just put it in the comments section and I'll get to it. And also, if there's a country out there that somebody's curious about and they want to maybe know something about by talking to an expert, let me know. I'll try to find somebody there. So I hope to see you in 2 weeks.